It is working.
Oh, now you listen. Take your seats. Welcome back. Now I would like to introduce the 5 candidates for City Council of District 3 in alphabetical order. Ryan Belcher, Robert Day, Bob McCeney, John Rigg, and Stephanie Stullich. First, I'll start by introducing Mr. Ryan Belcher. He graduated this past May from the University of Maryland with a double degree in government and politics and with honors in environmental science. He was actively involved in the Student Government Association and the University Senate. He is currently content manager at Concero Group. And next we have our incumbent, Robert Day. He has lived in College Park for the past 18 years and since 2011 has served as a city councilman for District 3. He has served on many boards, including positions as the chair of the Rent Stabilization Board and a member of the Noise Control Board. He has served as the chair of the City Redistricting Commission and as a member of the Advisory Planning Group for 2002 US 1 Corridor Sector Plan. Mr. Day is a current College Park Academy board member, and he is his job is currently the Senior Security Specialist with AECOM. Next, I would like to introduce Bob McCeney. He is a lifelong College Park resident and an elementary school teacher. He also graduated with a Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Maryland with a Master of Education degree from Bowie State. He is currently pursuing a doctoral degree in education policy, planning, and administration from George Washington University. Mr. McCeney also volunteers with the American Red Cross and has served as the First Aid Chairman and on the Safety Services Committee. Next, we have John Rigg. He has lived in College Park since 2007 and has served as the president of the Calvert Hills Citizens Association for the past 3 years. He graduated from Emory University and holds a master's degree in public administration with a focus on urban and regional affairs and in health administration. He directs a large policy office within the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Mr. Rigg also volunteers as a soccer coach and as a volunteer paramedic. And finally, we have incumbent Stephanie Stullich. She has served as District 3 Councilwoman since 2007 and has lived in College Park for 21 years. She previously served as president of the Old Town Civic Association and on the Committee for a Better Environment. She's also co-authored a book on the history of College Park. Ms. Stullich works as an educational research specialist at the U.S. Department of Education and currently co-chairs the city's Neighborhood Quality of Life Committee. And then I'll hand the questioning over to Sean.
Thank you very much, Molly. Thank you. And thanks to the candidates for agreeing to be here tonight. We all appreciate it. Again, for this event, I determined the questions, the order of which, also the order in which it will be asked, and the candidates were not told of the questions in advance. Here are the ground rules for tonight's candidates forum. First of all, this is not a debate. It is an opportunity for the 5 candidates to offer their views on some of the issues that affect District 3 residents. This should last half an hour, might go a little longer, somewhere in there. Each candidate will get 1 minute for an opening statement. Then I'll ask a question. Each candidate will get 1 minute to respond. There will be no rebuttals. We have a timer in view. Hopefully you all can see it. And timer will go off, as you noticed during the mayoral debate. Each candidate will get an opportunity to be the first to answer a question. At the end, each candidate will deliver a 1 minute closing statement. Again, we ask the audience to hold off on applause until the end of the forum. And we will get started now with 1 minute opening statements. We'll get them from the candidates in alphabetical order, and we will start with Mr. Belcher.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. I would like to begin by thanking the Civic Association presidents and the vice president and Mr. Anderson. I heard you will be providing us with the service you do at work with on the 8 updates for traffic. So thank you very much. As the introduction said, I was a recent graduate from the University of Maryland, now turned young professional. I served on our top policymaking body advising the university on development issues in the city. I served in our student government association. Most importantly, I am now a committed long-term resident here in the city of College Park, District 3. I live in Old Town. And through my involvement as an undergraduate, I worked on things like streamlining the IFC tailgates to put them on campus, working on other ways to take partying and noise issues out of Old Town College Park and Calvert Hills. And I also worked to make sure that we provide holistic viewpoints when it comes to developing our city. And through that work, I really saw the potential College Park has and the fact that we're not meeting it. So if elected, I would work to ensure that key stakeholders are better working together, whether it's a council member, the university, city, and most importantly, neighbors working together to solve our most important issues. Thank you.
Mr. Day, 1 minute to you.
So I will tell you this, I have been their council member for the last 4 years. I have moved here, when I moved here 18 years ago with my wife, I came here with the thought of leaving Prince George's County in 5 years because I had a child on the way. Education is important to our family. I can tell you, first of all, I want to say thank you to my wife that's sitting back there, because without her, my boys would be running around doing all kinds of different things. My 3 boys have grown up in College Park. I wanted to make College Park a place that I could raise my family, be here for the long term. I can tell you now, my oldest is currently at Bowie State. Well, he's not at Bowie State, he's in North Carolina as they are in a track meet down there for the championships. My middle son is currently at Parkdale, and my youngest son is at College Park Academy. So I got a full gamut of covering in this county. I can tell you my 2 older boys speak French and Russian fluently, and they are here, all the time in the city. So thank you, and let's have fun with this.
Thank you, Mr. Day. Mr. McCeney, you have 1 minute.
Well, thank you. I don't think everyone realizes the hard work that went on behind the scenes. There were about a month long of emails back and forth with Molly McLaren, and finally had to spend her own money to finally get this to go off. And so definitely that was the kind of citizen involvement that I would like to see, I would like to continue. And I have done myself as, the chairman of the Prince George's County Red Cross, as also as helping in the community with disaster action team, as a former president of the College Park State Citizens Association, as also just being a member of the community, teaching first aid and CPR classes, getting to meet numerous people in my own neighborhood.
Mr. Rigg, you have 1 minute for an opening statement.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you so much for moderating. Thank you so much to Molly for organizing. My name is John Rigg. When my family and I moved to the National Capital Region from Seattle about 9 years ago today, we quickly fell in love with College Park. From its deep connections to the University of Maryland, to its multi-generational and diverse population, to its beautiful historic neighborhoods. At its best, the city of College Park pulls together the vibrancy and the cosmopolitanism of the national capital with the charm and neighborliness of a small town. For the past nearly 4 years, I've been working hard as a Civic Association president in the Calvert Hills neighborhood. Together with my neighbors, we've worked hard to protect the character of our neighborhood while also bringing amenities and smart development to our city. With my leadership, we've joined together to build a community garden in the center of our neighborhood. We've worked together to put up little free libraries in the center of our neighborhood. And throughout my tenure as a Civic Association president, I've endeavored to be a friendly, fair, transparent, and responsive leader for all members of the association, regardless of whether they happen to be students or non-students. If you vote for me, I can promise to represent the needs of all District 3 residents as we work together to make our city an even better place.
Ms. Stullich.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for moderating our event, and to Ms. McLaren and Ms. Bryant for making this happen and all the work that you did. And thank all of you for being here tonight. It's great to see so many people come down to City Hall to listen to candidates and make informed decisions. I think this is a really exciting time for College Park. We've been working for quite a few years to try to bring positive change to our community, and it does feel like a new era with the collaborative relationship that we have right now with the University of Maryland. That doesn't mean that we always agree with the university on everything, but together we have been able to accomplish quite a lot in terms of improving public safety, in terms of the fact that our crime rate has dropped 28% in the past 8 years is no accident. creating the College Park Academy to try to provide better educational options for our residents. And I guess I'll have to say the rest in my next opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stullich. Let's start with the questions. Mr. Day, you get the first crack at the first question.
Okay.
This question has two parts. First, how would you describe the current state of relations between off-campus housing landlords and university students in our city? And second, what, if anything, needs to be done to improve those relations?
Well, first of all, I think the students are a part of our community that will never go away. I think the landlords are working with us. 4 years ago, when at some point, there had to be a decision made to keep rent stabilization in place. If you all were here earlier, you heard people talk about the mix of bringing together the different groups. I can tell you, I was the one that brought the landlords to the table. I was the one that brought the students back to the table. To create this collaborative feeling of building a city, we have to have everybody involved. And I think the students and the landlords are starting to develop a good relationship. The city and the actual residents we all have to work together to develop an issue-free, or not an issue-free, but way of solving the problems that we have, and we have to have everybody at the table to talk. And until we can bring everybody to the table freely, we were not going to do anything in this city.
Time. Mr. McCeney, 1 minute to you.
And from my perception, from talking with landlords, from talking with residents, is that there's the old, town gown, friction that I've seen and continues to exist. And I know that it's been ameliorated a little bit in the last few years, but it's still there. And one of the things that, I would like to do definitely is to continue and also start even more committees that can bring people together, more community events where residents, students, and everybody can come together for something that's attractive to all groups.
Mr. Rigg, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. Off-campus rental housing in this district is a problem. Not universally, by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, there are a number of very good landlords in our neighborhood who have produced great results with great residents over the years. However, there are also a number of problem houses that have been a problem year after year after year. As a member of the City Council, I will look for opportunities to create incentives for good landlords to do what's right and for bad landlords to change their ways. I would like to commend the Property Owners Association for being at the table. Their engagement has been important to some strides that we've already made as a city, and I would like to see more engagement with them going forward. However, I would also like to see the establishment of a Student Tenants Association to help counterbalance the strong political power of the Property Owners Association and give a voice for the students at the table.
Ms. Stullich, 1 minute to you.
Thank you. I'm very proud of the work of our Neighborhood Quality of Life Committee over the past several years in its two different incarnations, and I think we have accomplished good things working together with the landlords, the students, long-term residents, and others. Student rentals are, of course, something that's always going to be a part of our community. Rental housing is something that we need, and we just need to make sure that it's managed well and responsibly so that people in our neighborhoods can live in harmony and have a high quality of life. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Belcher, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, I think the relationship has improved markedly over the past few years, starting most recently with the IFC tailgate. I think that has been incredibly successful, and we need to take that to the next level. Going back to what the core issues this district faces a lot of time are noise issues. The best way to fix that is what we did with the IFC tailgates and move that noise off or back on campus, specifically by incentivizing the Greek system to have more registered social events. It's a win-win situation. On top of that, we need to make sure that landlords and students are working and incentivized to make sure that they maintain their properties that they are working together on. And then with regards to making sure that the students have a strong advocate, as a recent student, I believe I would serve as that strong advocate.
All right, Mr. Belcher, thank you. Our next question, Mr. McCeney will get to start, and the question is, homeowners in District 3 neighborhoods, maybe segueing here a little bit, deal with noise. They often complain that students are the perpetrators of this noise. What is your approach toward keeping neighborhood noise to a minimum?
One of the things is making sure that the ordinances that are already on the record, are enforced, and also educating students. When they come in here, that, you know, hey, that you're part of a community now, and I would say reaching out, number one, to the students and reaching out to the residents and making sure that they can, you know, come together to understand each other so that, you know, at 3 a.m., you know, someone's not, you know, who needs to get to work the next day is not going to be disturbed by a party that's, you know, starting at 2 a.m.
Mr. Rigg,
Thank you.
1 minute.
In my neighborhood, we've met with some success, not universal success, that's not a perfect solution, but by encouraging neighbors to go over and meet their student neighbors as soon as they move in, to exchange phone numbers, to exchange baked goods, to exchange pleasant greetings. When we can give a face and a name and a personality to our neighbors, we tend to act much more humanely towards one another. It's not a panacea. And so I agree with my colleague, Mr. McCeney, and his assertion that noise enforcement needs to be fairly meticulously maintained. I agree that the noise board could be more assertive as well. The noise board has sometimes given passes over the years to continuously problematic houses, and I would like to see that be a little bit more aggressive with problem houses in the future. However, I would also like to add that noise problems aren't solely the province of student houses. There are plenty of houses that are owner-occupied that can be noisy as well. And so it's about neighborliness. And we've done a great job in Calvert Hills of creating an environment where people can be neighborly to one another, where they can know one another and know how to get in touch when there's a problem.
Time. Ms. Stullich, you get 1 minute.
Thank you. I think there are three main avenues for dealing effectively with noise, and the first one is making sure that residents understand what they can do about noise problems when they occur, and what the city can do, what the police can do, and how to use those resources effectively to make the situation better. Secondly, informing students and other residents about, particularly during the back-to-school period, which is often the most difficult time. Through the knock and talks, I think has been a great collaborative effort, and helping people understand what the expectations are, so that nobody's surprised, and hopefully, you know, have an opportunity to comply with them and live responsibly with their neighbors. And then finally, building relationships between students and long-term residents, I do think is very important. I think it's good for long-term residents to reach out to their student neighbors. I think it's good for students to reach out to their long-term neighbors. We can all live together.
Thank you so much. Mr. Belcher, you get 1 minute.
So I already talked a bit briefly about some of my ideas. I'm happy to bring up some more. I think one of the first things we have to do is come down with a stronger hammer on the most problematic houses. So that could be reaching out to their nationals if they're a fraternity or sorority, working with the university, increase punishments for repeat offenses, and by doing that, setting a standard to make sure that the other houses don't kind of follow along that path. With regards to knock and talks, I think that they've been incredibly useful, but I've seen a lack of follow-up to make sure that these houses that have been talked to are actually meeting these standards, and maybe we should work with them proactively to make sure that these houses are staying as good neighbors, rather. And most importantly, I think we need to build a culture of trust where, you know, while no one is perfect, you know, we need to make sure that we set standards but are clear and concise with talking to each other about how we should work together as neighbors.
Thank you. Mr. Day, you get a minute to send the final word on this question.
All right, so education and communication is the big thing the big issue that we have here in College Park. We need to educate both sides to make sure that they understand what they can do about noise issues. We also need to educate the student what the noise issues are. When they come into our city and they arrive here brand new, we try to catch them with the knock and talks up front. And I do agree that with Mr. Belcher about we do need to follow up and continue to work with them. We visit every house that has had an issue the year before, and we try to pick up as many others as we can. I think that, you know, we have attacked some problem houses. We've actually turned 2 of the #1 houses from last year around to being absolutely no issues. We have got a lot more to go. We have houses that we are trying to communicate with the landlords to come down harder on them from their side, and also to make sure that we bring them to the front and talk with them. I can personally say that I've gone and visited houses. It hasn't worked every single time, but it has worked.
Thank you very much. Next question, Mr. Rigg, you'll get to start. There is no definitive plan yet to repurpose the vacant Calvert Hills Elementary School site. As a city council member, what would be your suggestion to develop it?
So those of you who are in my civic association know that this matter is very near and dear to my heart. We've had several trips to the plate, and to use a World Series metaphor, we've struck out every time we've been to the plate on this one. It is essential that this dilapidated building that sits in the beating heart of Calvert Hills be developed, and be developed soon before it falls into a further state of disrepair. I met with, and our civic association have met with the University of Maryland and have discussed the idea of a combination of a daycare center and a combination of a community site at that location. I think that is an excellent use. I think it's a use that this community will support. And I think it's a use that, most importantly, can be of greater utility to the city at large. There's a shortage of community space. We know that the old parish house is consistently booked up. And so this would give another great venue for us all to come together and build more a greater sense of civic cohesion.
Ms. Stullich, you get 1 minute.
I strongly agree with everything Mr. Rigg has just said. The school building has been vacant for 10 years, and we've been trying all of that time to find a viable use that is economically feasible and perceived as beneficial by both the immediate neighborhood and residents of the city as a whole. The current proposal to build daycare and early childhood education at that site, I think, is one that is just extremely popular with people throughout the community. Certainly the neighborhood residents see it as a use that's very compatible with what the school always has been in that community. And there's such a need for daycare and early childhood education in this community, both by university faculty, staff, graduate students, and long-term residents. It would fulfill a great need, and it would be a great opportunity to partner with the university to do something that's really in the best interests of both of us and the city as a whole.
Thank you very much. Mr. Belcher, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you. I think I agree with a lot of the sentiments that my colleagues are bringing up here. I think it definitely needs to have a multi-purpose function, whether it's a daycare that our university faculty, staff, and graduate students can use to make sure that they are able to feel comfortable with our town. Everything from that to making sure that we have a place that we can gather socially, whether it's a concert or something like that, something where we can really kind of have a good community vibe. Importantly, I think we should use it as a benchmark for future growth rather than just there, but show our commitment to making sure that we can revitalize the more dilapidated parts of our city. And lastly, I would want to make sure it's a place that we can leverage to serve our neediest residents, whether that's in College Park or otherwise. I think that space has great places for things like blood drives, service initiatives, and things like that.
Mr. Day, you have 1 minute.
So, back when the university brought a plan to the city to put housing on this site, they were met with some opposition and wanted to know why. So we started to sit down and talk with them. We started to ask questions of what could really be there. My colleague made a comment to them that, they should look at the site, and we definitely pushed to make sure that they were hearing what the community was saying. So as we sat down and visited with them over and over and over again, I would walk up there and talk to the administration and try to get them to understand that our community knows what it wants in its backyard. Yes, we needed something that is going to be a community space that's going to serve the children of our area, and we needed something that we could develop in a way that fit the needs of our community. I think the plan that I brought forward with the university to the city meets that need. And when we showed it here in City Hall, people were very happy to hear and see what was brought forward.
Thank you very much. Mr. McCeney, you get a minute on this.
I guess it's sometimes tough when you're the last, because then you're just echoing what other people might say or have a few of your own ideas. But I do believe that the community should make the most use of it by having it as a daycare center, as a linchpin for the community where people could come together and meet. And also, again, have it be multi-use where you can do first aid, CPR classes. I teach a first aid CPR class there anytime that there'd be an interest in the community for that. And I definitely believe that you need to hear the residents because, find out, still what would be the most viable use by bringing together everybody in the community to find out how can we best use this and respect everybody's wishes at the same time.
Thank you very much. Our next question, Ms. Stullich will get to start. Would you please characterize the current level of cooperation between the university and the city And what changes, if any, would you propose in that relationship?
Well, I think that there has certainly, in my 20 years in College Park, there's never been such a close degree of collaboration between the city and the university. And that's playing out in all kinds of ways. We are working closely on public safety, on trying to improve K-12 schools, on transportation issues, and on economic revitalization of our downtown. I know that people feel sometimes mixed feelings about redevelopment. People have concerns about traffic and the impact, the change that it's going to bring to our community. But overall, I think change is happening, and with the university as a partner, we have a much better opportunity to influence that change and make it change that will be good for our community.
Thank you. Mr. Belcher, 1 minute.
I think both parties have realized that it is a necessary relationship, but it's not to the point that we want it to be. A lot of times, if the university doesn't agree with what the city is proposing, a lot of times they will go around them and either purchase the land and choose their own development, or will make sure that they have the final say. So what I would do is I would use my connections and my relationships with the university administration and leverage the proactive relationship I have with them to make sure that we have a positive relationship. One that doesn't only focus on the administration level, but works with departments to help pull our residents to determine what amenities we need. One that works on a more kind of direct level with faculty and staff to make sure that we are doing everything we can to make sure that this is a place that they would want to move to.
Mr. Day, you have 1 minute.
So the university and the city have started to really work together very well. And that's the university administration, that's the SGA, that's the other student groups, that's actual administrators and teachers are reaching out to us to help involve the city in programs on the university, and the university to be involved in city issues and programs. I think that we have a long way to go. I think there is a mass amount of resources that we could learn from and be taught to people in our city. I think we have an opportunity here to grow and develop this city to be a top 20 town. We have a lot to offer, and we have a great amount of resources, and we need to tie them together and use them to build the city that we really want. I think the university is a great partner, and we will continue to grow with them.
All right, Mr. Day, thank you. Mr. McCeney, 1 minute.
I was just reflecting that there was a magazine that said that the University of Maryland is the city of College Park, and I would say that it's also the other way around. As much as the University of Maryland is the city of College Park, the city of College Park is also integral with the growth of the University of Maryland. That in order for us to utilize the great vast resources that the University of Maryland has, there has to be a positive relationship and finding out what sources that they have, so that with their planning people, with the just encouraging again professors, perhaps there can even be an incentive, financial incentive. There's certainly a financial incentive for police officers to move into communities, so perhaps there can also be a financial incentive for professors to move into the city of College Park so that we can make them more integral part of the community.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Rigg, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I have no formal affiliation, neither does my family, with the University of Maryland whatsoever. We're proud residents of the city of College Park, but it just makes good sense that the city of College Park hold hands and work in collaboration with our largest employer and with the institution that sits on the edge of our main street. I like the collaboration that we've seen so far. I like that the university is listening to what our communities have to say. We had a disagreement with them over the use of the Calvert Road school site. We gave them some hard feedback, and they took it to heart, and I appreciate that. That said, there are things that we need to grapple with in the relationship as well. One of them is cultural. I've had many conversations with faculty members who say that when they started their jobs at the University of Maryland, they were told not even to bother looking for housing in the city of College Park. That's wrong. We've got great communities in this town, things that I'm proud of in this town. Another problem is, and I'm going to have to call out my friends at the Diamondback, who had an editorial recently in which they compared the city of College Park as just another hard-bitten, sort of down on its luxe suburban Maryland city. It's inappropriate, and we need to change that culture.
Thank you very much. Our final question of the forum, Mr. Belcher, you'll have the first crack. What are the top things you would like to accomplish as a member of the City Council?
Sure. So I graduated as an environmental science major, so sustainability is kind of a key aspect of what I want to see College Park become a leader in. So whether that's incentivizing homeowners and landlords to upgrade their houses to be more energy efficient, or working to pilot a composting program for our fledgling gardens, community gardens, I would want to make sure that we become a sustainability leader for not only Prince George's County, but for the state. On a more fundamental level, I would want to work with everyone to become the best neighbor possible. I really took that to heart as I moved into Old Town a few years ago, to be best neighbor possible to Kathy, actually, and then working to make sure that we on a macro level as students really started to take to heart the other residents in the community. So I think that should be a priority, making sure that we work together and bridge the divides that are really hampering the growth of College Park.
All right, Mr. Belcher, thank you. Mr. Day.
I believe the number one priority that we have is bringing everybody to the table. I think there's been so much bad blood with, the residents, the students, the landlords, the university, the county. We have to bring everybody back to the table. We have to bridge the gaps that are between us all and start to really use the resources that we have to build our city into the northern Prince George's County capital, or the city of what we really want it to be. I think we have an opportunity to do that. I really think that we have taken for granted what is around us. We're soon to have the Purple Line coming through here, and we're going to be a transportation hub here. We're going to have the Metro, we're going to have the Purple Line, we're going to have, other entities happening here, where hopefully we have the FBI coming up the street. So our city's about to take a major growth. And I think that we really need to bring everybody to the table to take advantage of the knowledge that we have. We have some great minds in College Park. I'll be a little over the top and say I think District 3 has the greatest minds represented here. So I will tell you that I like what we have, and I think we need to take advantage of it and use it more often.
Thank you. Mr. McCeney.
And I was going to say, just to echo a little bit about Mr. Day, is that we do need to bring everybody together, continue to bring people together, and meetings of citizens associations like tonight is also the Calvert Hills, as well as Old Town, and also in College Park Estates. And the other thing is meeting with all concerned parties about the development along Route 1 that can negatively impact traffic, to find out the best way that we can ameliorate that. And although public safety, although it's been a little bit safer, but I would also continue to grow on that by having a police aid program, either volunteer or by, paid staff from the city of College Park who can patrol in areas, because most of the time it's a deterrent factor that, you want to have in terms of a crime, not dealing with it after it's occurred. And again, trying to get all members together, on a regular basis, meetings of citizens associations, meetings of landlords, meetings of students. I go next door regularly to the students, and I have had nothing but a positive relationship with them.
Thank you. Mr. Rigg, 1 minute.
Thank you. So the specific question was, what things do you want to accomplish? And I've got a few fairly concrete ideas of things I'm going to work on right away. First of all, and we've already beat this dead horse to death, use for the Calvert Road School that the community will support. It's absolutely essential. Second, stabilization of our historic neighborhoods, especially around quality of life. It is inappropriate that people who've lived in this community for their entire life don't feel like they can live comfortably in their home because of noise and rowdiness in the vicinity of their homes. Third, aging in place. It's currently a task force. It needs to be turned into a committee, and that committee needs to be tasked with goals that are spelled out by the data that they're currently collecting. Real progress needs to be measured towards these goals, and we should set up an evaluative structure to make sure it's working. And fourth, we need to give some stability to the co-op housing in our community. The student housing, cooperative housing at the University of Maryland, the Chum Co-op, has struggled with sustainability since its inception, and I, as a city council member, would want to work with them to try to give them a greater degree of stability.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rigg. Ms. Stullich, you get a minute.
Thank you. Continuing to work on quality of life issues. I think we've made progress. I think we still have a long way to go, as some of my colleagues have referred to. It is very difficult sometimes for older residents to live in our neighborhoods, and everybody's entitled to have a good quality of life, and we need to keep working on that. redeveloping the Calvert Road School as daycare. I really would like us to see us moving forward on that within the next 2 years, as well as redeveloping this site that we're sitting in right now. I think this is a great opportunity to help to revitalize our downtown and make a collaborative development with the university as the center, the heart of our new downtown. Oh, I still have a few more minutes. Oh, okay.
You got you got 10 seconds.
And attracting more faculty and staff to live in College Park. A college town without faculty and staff living in just doesn't make sense. It's a great community, and we need to help more faculty and staff realize that and move here.
Thank you so much. That concludes our questions at this time. Time for closing statements, and I believe our agreement was we'd go in reverse alphabetical order, going backward.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ms. Stullich, you would get 1 minute for your closing statement.
Okay. Thank you. I've been very proud of the progress that College Park has made in the last 5 to 7 years, and I am very pleased to see so many different parts of our community working together. I think we have accomplished a lot. I think we have a long way to go, and a big part of what we need to do to make progress is to learn to work better across some of the lines that sometimes divide us. Students and long-term residents, city and university, and young people and older people, North College Park and South College Park. We all have so much stake in creating College Park as a better community, building on the strengths that we have and addressing our challenges head on. I think we are really moving in a good direction, and I really am hoping to be part of the effort for the next 2 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rigg, 1 minute for closing.
Thank you. And thank you again to Molly and to Sean for organizing tonight. I think we can all agree that this opportunity for discussion about the future of our city has been well organized, very interesting, and enjoyable. My campaign for City Council has 3 components. 1, it's about issues such as improved amenities, enhanced quality of life, and opportunities for seniors to age in place, and of course, a sustainable use for the Calvert Road School site. 2, it's about fostering civic engagement by helping to stand back up civic associations in District 3 where they've faltered, and by encouraging new organizations for advocacy and civic engagement in our city. 3, it's about providing service and advocacy to you, the residents of District 3. This is something, as a civic association president, I already do a lot of and I take very seriously. It would be my honor to do this on behalf of everybody living in the district. But most importantly, this campaign is about you, and it's about your ideas. I would love a chance to talk with you about your ideas, and I would be honored to have the opportunity to represent you on City Council.
Thank you, Mr. Rigg. Mr. McCeney, 1 minute.
And I was going to say that regardless of, when you become councilman, you're not representing students, you're not representing residents, you're not representing landlords, you're representing all those parties. And one of the things that I would like to be able to do is to, again, bring all these people together so that they can develop harmonious relationships, and so that we can have a community that we can be proud of with everybody working together.
Thank you very much. Mr. Day, you have a minute.
So over the last 16 years, I've fought hard for College Park and mostly for District 3. We're on the verge of a very big growth period in our city's history. We have downtown that's about to take major changes. We also have the metro parking areas around Metro and College Park that's about to take a major growth. We need to be ready to take that on and move that forward. And that requires being able to build, a good group of people that's going to move forward. I think that we have an opportunity here, and I look forward to serving the people of District 3. Like I said before, I think District 3 is the heart of this city. And I think that we have an opportunity to lead the way. And we are going to see a lot of growth, and I need to be the person there to help you guide through that.
Thank you. Mr. Belcher, you have 1 minute.
Well, thank you, Molly. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for hosting and moderating this forum. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everyone who attended this forum tonight. I know we're not the GOP debate, but thank you nonetheless. I would like to echo Mr. Day's sentiments in saying we have a historic opportunity here in College Park to change the tone of our city. In fact, District 3 really is on the front lines of development of all these quality of life issues. I'm confident in my ability that we will be able to work to make College Park a safe, sustainable, affordable, a place that everyone can want to live in, that wants to live in, can live in, and is welcoming to to every resident who is interested in becoming a member of College Park. I have the experience and perspectives necessary to bring that that vision to the City Council, and I humbly request your support on the November 3rd elections. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, your 5 candidates for District 3 City Council. And thank you for the opportunity to allow me to moderate this. This was a very illuminating discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean and Molly.
Thank you.
And Kathy, thank you, Kathy.
Again, I would like to thank you all for coming out tonight, and I would also like to thank Sean Anderson, who, if you can't tell from his questions, has put a lot of work into the research that goes into them. So I'd also like to thank the candidates for their time and for their enthusiasm and for their willingness to make College Park a better place to live. I am glad that I am not running.
You can if you want.
Oh,
2
no.
years.
I don't want to keep City Hall open too much longer, but I believe that the candidates will be available to answer some questions as we exit. And I'd also encourage you to contact them directly if you do have questions. Sorry, candidates. But they're usually very easy to get a hold of, and you can talk to them directly.
I always tell people they can call me 24/7, 365.
So, and please, above all, don't forget to vote on November 3rd. Thank you.
Seems like tonight was a waste if you don't vote.